So how long, with the place you called as a rehab,
yeah.
How long were you there?
28 days. It's like a standard, rehab thing. And Dr. Drew was still working there at the time. It's so weird, this strange
Did you see him there?
Yeah. Oh, he was the head of addiction medicine at
so you
Los
knew
Encinas.
him?
Yeah. I mean, he definitely came in and treated me and talked to me.
Is that the place that you had been before?
No.
Different
I
place?
went to the Hazelden Institute in Minnesota, which is, like I said,
that's like the celebrity place, right?
It's really recognized as one of like the premier rehabilitation centers. And I'm very happy I went there because I took away from it a lot of amazing experiences and knowledge, even though it didn't end up panning out. But I got clean like a mile from the house I grew up in.
And you've never used since then?
No.
And do you, hope this is okay to ask, do you go to meetings now and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask a question that sounds like a stupid question, but you talked about like you just wanted to you weren't social drug user, you just wanted to watch TV.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have done that sober?
Oh, it wasn't even an option. I mean, when I woke up in the morning, if I was sober, like that was torture to me. It honestly was. Like back then, I couldn't imagine anything worse than doing anything sober, let alone just watching TV or going to a Dodger game or anything that I might, on the surface, enjoy. The idea of just being me, was just ridiculous. I'd rather be dead. I really would. If you gave me the comparison, you could be alive and sober or dead. I'd just be like, well, fuck it. Let's just end it here because it was just torturous. And I didn't have any histrionic moments that made me feel that way. My parents didn't rape me or I didn't get, beaten. But I come from a long, long line of heavy drink. I'm Irish Mexican, right down the middle. And I come from a long line of really heavy drinking, really hard partying people. And I got the genetic bug and I didn't really have a lot of other things up to that point that filled me up and made me feel like I had a lot of self-worth. And so when I discovered getting inebriated, it was like all those problems just went away, whether it be for 15 minutes or 15 hours, depending on the binges and the amounts and the type of drugs I was using. That feeling of emptiness and a low self-worth, it just went completely away. And I could kind of sit in my skin and watch South Park or sit in my skin and go to a movie, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you feel in your skin now?
It's still, it's a work in progress, but I've never been better than I am now, even before my daughter was born. But we're talking a decade of therapy and pharmaceuticals and meditation and yoga and intense exercise. All those things, like I had to, it all feeds into each other. And I got to the point where, because I think I was just as depressed in the mid 2005, 2006 ish in my first marriage as I was when I was using. I just didn't know it. I was a miserable wreck because I would fudge on half of it. It was half measures. I would go to meetings and stay sober, but I wasn't going to therapy and I was drinking, 3,000 milligrams of caffeine a day and not sleeping and not opening up to other people and not sponsoring anybody or getting sponsored by. So it was like I said, it was like just kind of going through the motions, and it didn't work. And finally, I've gotten to the point where I understand I have to do the work thoroughly in a comprehensive fashion, and I'm getting there. But I came from therapy to here, so it's not.
Do you feel like Loveline is part of being of service?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, there's not. It's just so strange how, like, even the mistakes and all this shit, at first glance, the things that I thought were really shitty that happened to me, not getting jobs here, getting rejected, ridiculed by this boss or that guy, it ended up to then me being able to host Loveline because there's nothing else in the world that I'm more suited for. It's the best. I go in and albeit 75% of it is me pretending to be Spencer Pratt and a cholo and saying stupid stuff. But the 25% of it, when you can really talk to that guy that I know it, I can hear it in his voice. He's 19-year-old Mike, and he feels like he has no reason to go on, and he drinks every day. Like, if I can go home with one of those calls every night, it's just like, it's the best feeling in the world. And it's the one thing that I did. I found that can replace that buzz you get of doing drugs and alcohol. And Drew has always said it, as one of the kind of foremost authorities on the topic. above and beyond just doing the requisite kind of going to meetings and staying sober, being of service in any way possible is the most fulfilling thing you can do. And it's true. It sounds so cliche and corny, but it's true. There's no real point into just kind of doing things day in and day out that are pleasing and satisfying to you only. You know, it's kind of understanding the way you fit into that general social circle and being able to give back to it so that it all works better.
Do you think that's maybe why having a child now is making you feel feelings that you hadn't felt?
Yeah. I'm just so. I wish I could describe it better because it just sounds like a greeting card to say I just want my child to be happy, but that's all I want. I don't need her to be a senator or a brain surgeon or an actress or anything. I don't care. I just want her to be happy. I don't want her to have to go through even a short phase of that, going home and sitting, like reading comic books and Mad Magazine when I was 16 and just being so miserable and just feeling like I have no friends and wanting the cool kids to accept me. And I was just so empty and angry. I just don't want her to have any of that. But there's really no way to kind of like formulate a recipe to getting her there, you know? And she's 6 weeks now, so all she does is shit.
How's she doing so far?
All she does is shit. It's like, it's kind of not fun yet, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Does the responsibility overwhelm you?
No, not yet. And I think that's because my wife's so devoted to being a mom. But we're very gifted in that my wife's an actress and a successful one. And so she doesn't, even if she wanted to, she can't go back to work until August. She has a new show premiering this week, in fact. And Undateable. So until she finds out if the show got picked up or canceled, she can't do any other work for anybody else except for NBC and Undateable. So she can't.
Well, that's kind of perfect then.
Right. So she just has the ability, and luckily, because she's been successful in the past, financially we're okay, and time-wise, she takes care of our child. So I don't feel like the responsibilities have kind of hit me in a tidal scope yet. What has hit me is that I don't feel like I'm doing enough. My wife breastfeeds 10 times a day, and she sleeps with the baby, and she does this and that. I'm like, man, I want to do more. I want to help out, but I biologically, like, there's not much else I can do. You know, I change the diapers, and I get her to sleep when I can, and you want to do more though, but my titties they don't make milk.
Milk. I've heard that from guests who've come on this show. In fact, Jesse Thorne, who was just on the show the first time he came on, he was saying that just as a new father, you realize that you just feel sort of extraneous. Yeah. Like you're not that necessary to what's happening at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, imagine what it's like when you're not even the breadwinner either. You know, that's what I feel, very neutered. Mm-hmm. In my ability to kind of be the man of the house. So, but you try to make up for it in other ways. And I think that's helped me kind of get in touch with being more emotionally available, because like really that's all I can do now. So you better fucking get used to listening to your wife and being very understanding to all her needs, and even being proactive about talking to her and getting to the bottom of what may be troubling her. Because I'm employed and I have a good career, but she makes the majority of the money. She is the mother. She is the breastfeeder. She is all this stuff. So it's like, fuck, what can I do that doesn't make me feel completely emasculated? And that's be like just Superman when it comes to being the emotional emotionally available and responding emotionally. You know? Has
it always been the case that she's been more the breadwinner?
Since we've started dating, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. How
is that for you?
At first, it was very awkward. And I'd love to say, like, oh, I'm above it. But I'm not. You know, the male ego it got put in check because that's something that's so typically masculine. But as I moved on in the relationship, and it happened very quickly because my wife is very open to the idea. She said, it's not like you're a slacker. Yes, I make more money than you, but you have a career and you work very hard and you're doing well. And by the way, we're both entertainers, so it can switch very quickly. So she never put like a premium on the idea of me making more money than her. She definitely puts a premium on the idea of me making the most of myself, you know, whether that be making X income or Y. It really didn't matter. It's just the fact that she saw that I was very committed to my career. So how
did you get into entertainment?
Like I said, I thought I was going to be like some big rock star, and really I just wanted like a job where I could do heroin and do blow all day. And then when I got clean, I moved back to LA. When I was, like I said, I was in Los Encinas here in Pasadena, and I got a job at K-Rock right after I got out of rehab as like a straight gig. K-Rock's the local rock radio station. It's a legendary radio station. Adam worked there. That's where he came from, and Kimmel and Dr. Drew and myself. And I got a job there. It's like the lowest of the low entry-level job, just as like a straight gig. I was going to go and audition for other bands or try to get – and then I needed something to like pay for my shitty apartment in Burbank.
What was the job? Like, what were you doing?
I was
an assistant?
Yeah. Or? I was like, no, I did a lot of like custodial stuff. I got boxes of shirts and stickers from storage and shipped them back. I drove the jocks around. I swept the floors. I did that. I was essentially just
grunt
like
work.
A hired hand. Yeah, it was a grunt work. And while I was there, I started bugging Kevin and Bean, like that I could do character voices and I could write parody songs. And I knew all the digital editing software like the back of my hand, which was
How did you know that?
I didn't. I was a total lie. It was a total lie. But I did know how to write parody songs, and I did know how to do phony phone calls. I was like I said, in high school, I was really good at that. I was known for it. I could do phony phone calls. I could do pranks. I could do comedy shit. And so I started doing it without them responding. At first, Lightning, Jay Tillis, who was the executive producer at the time, he didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, he's like, we're not hiring. It's not, what do you want me to do? So I would go to do like red carpets with a K-Rock mic flag that I would take from the station.
You went rogue?
Yeah, without them like even asking me. And then I'd get good audio. And then I made some parody songs that actually got me in the door. And Kevin and Bean noticed it at first. And he's like, it was pretty funny. So they started using me like freelance. They didn't hire me. And then after a couple months of doing that, then they did eventually hire me at the Kevin and Bean show. And then it just kind of made a career for myself since. It's been really, I've had an unbelievable amount of luck, you know. And
how did Loveline happen?
When Adam left, Stryker started hosting Loveline, and he had some contract disputes, and so they just went with Drew after Stryker left. And so they were kind of like having a round robin of people that could be potential co-hosts. And I talked to the program director at K-Rock and the guy who owned Loveline at the time. He didn't own Loveline. He worked for the company that did at the time, Westwood One. And they said, "Well, yeah, you seem like certainly someone who would be competent enough to try a couple nights." And so I did, and they kept me in the mix. And
was it something that you're like, "Oh, I want that"?
Yeah, hell yeah, I mean, I would tell people, I was like, "Look, considering I have now 6-7 years of on-air experience, I've spent my entire adult life being on the radio in LA." And I've gone through this insane boot camp of Kevin and Bean where the standards were so high, and I got a chance to work with such talented people. I have the chops, I think, and I also have the experience. Like, I've been sober and I've been doing it, and I'm terrible in relationships, the whole thing. And so they gave me a shot, and after a while, they liked it, I think, and I worked really cheap because I just wanted to do it. But they wouldn't let me leave Kevin and Bean. They're like, "You can do it, but are you going to be prepared to wake up again 3-4 hours later and go into the morning?" And I was like, "Go to anything to do it." And I did. And it was 2 years like that. And then finally, Dancing with the Stars happened. And then they're like, "Okay, you can leave Kevin and Bean." You're like,
what were those 2 years like aside from the end of your marriage?
Amazing and horrible at the same time. Yeah. Amazing in that I got to be on the two, in my opinion, the two greatest radio shows in Los Angeles at the same time. I was outside of Kevin and Bean and Loveline, there was Stern, and that was it for me in my life. I listened to Loveline, and especially when Adam was there, falling asleep 75% of the nights I was alive, and I woke up to Kevin and Bean flicking back and forth between Stern and Kevin and Bean. So it was like it was a dream come true. But I was a zombie, and I could barely pull it off physically. I aged myself, and I lost a ton of weight. I obviously was not emotionally available. I drove my wife crazy.